come on in the cold shop. We got some glass cutting to do. Pardon me for the mess. So for the last video, if you remember, we had taken these black canes and created a tube. What we're going to do today is cut this tube apart as well as another tube and begin to stack our tubes to creating a platter. It's a lot like this. This process of Encalmo is an Italian process, and it's not real easy, but it's also not really hard if you especially keep the tube small and you do it maybe, I don't know, a couple thousand times. Whenever I'm cutting glass, I like to, I put on my fancy glass experience jacket. This is a golfing jacket that I made when I went to Corning, New York. They used to have this festival there, a golfing festival in Corning, and when they got rid of the festival maybe 10 years ago, they said we need to have some other kind of festival. And basically they came up with Glass Fest, since Corning is the city of glass. And for a few years, I went there and did some demonstration. And so what I ended up doing, I went on eBay and bought this jacket. And on the back I put the Glass Fest logo. I have this, what looks to be very excessive protective gear. When I had shown you the ornament and doing those 3 basic color applications, this is those same chips with white on top. So I'm just rinsing these cuts out. Once you've cut the piece, there's debris inside, so you want to get that kind of rinsed. If you were to sand them on the diamond wheel, you could avoid some of the cutting or the hot work of piecing them together, and you could even melt them together. But today, when we pick them up, I'm just going to trim some of that while it's hot and then begin to stack them on top of one another. Blue, we got kind of like a lemon, we got a black, and then a rainbow, and we've got our gold canes. I think we got enough. I still don't even know which cup we're going to put it on, but I'll go in there, and if I'm the right size for one, and one calls my heart and says, I should be the very top man, that's one we'll do. I want it to be that. It's going to be just heat and gravity has kind of begun to open that. We don't want it to get too opened or big. We want to keep it kind of contained. We also don't want it to kind of get too shrunk. You know, if you keep heating things up, it kind of condenses them, and that's not good. You know, these color patterns, like this one especially, it's got a ton of color in it. And if you get it too hot and too big at first, you're not going to really get it back down. If you condense it too much, it's going to screw up color. Now this section is super thin comparatively, so I definitely need to be careful, and I'm going to condense that. But I think we'll be all right. A lot of times when I'm doing this, I try to get an eyeball. You know, when I'm picking up the one cup, I try to get a gauge for what the next cup I'm picking up, how big that is. And it makes it a lot easier if all of these are pretty
but it's not always that case. And I was just looking at the wrong cup. I like to dip the pipe before doing that. It just helps to kind of like keep it from getting stuck. It also helps from not, you know, to just not burn your tool. This is getting, you know, uneven. But I've probably been working on this paddle for like maybe 6 months or a year. Expand it a little more. So at this point, I'm looking at this one, at the black one, and try to remember from there so I don't have to go do as much checking. If I can make it that smooth every time, whew, then you should be taking notes. You should be taking notes right now. Just kind of smooth that in. I think we're the right size and I think we're close to the right temperature. Having that same issue. Get down there. We got one more left. Things getting pretty hot, so it just makes it a little easier on your skin having a shielded tweezers. One time my father saw me working and I was making all this like tweezers like this. It's burning me. He's like, why don't you just like put something there? Closer to perfect. This is kind of close to the max of about what I would want to have on my blowpipe. So this is where I'm going to cut it, but I'm just kind of pooling that a little more. And I don't want to seal it just yet. I want to make sure I've got a bubble seal. Because if I don't seal it while it's really hot, sometimes when those two come together, it creates a bubble that kind of fractures on the inside of the bowl, and it creates a sharp spot. You know, when you're cutting this glass hot, it usually doesn't leave a mark, but when you're cutting it semi-cold, it can definitely leave a mark. So we now got a bubble. You know, after however long of blowing the tubes, cutting them up, expanding them, sizing them, and then stacking them, we now officially have our bubble. So this will be a series of barbering back and forth to try to chill the tip, keep that contained while we build up enough heat up here so that we can begin to puff it out. I don't want to hold it up and down for too long because it's moving. Even though it's not moving super fast, by holding it up and down, it's stretching it more, so it's sort of counterproductive. And I want to condense it, so by kind of pushing in, that helps to condense this bubble a little bit. And at this point, this could be anything. This could be a platter, it could be a vase, it could be, you know, any sort of shape, pretty much. What we're going to do is open it up into somewhat of a platter. This band got a little too condensed. It'll probably be alright. We'll see what it looks like. But I think I condensed a little more than I would have wanted. But I want to be careful not to blow it up too much. If this thing gets too thin, since all those colors are different, it's going to be moving at a different pace. It'll be a nightmare. my hand, I would definitely get burnt up by me. Might open it up once more, but I can see that this area is getting thin. I don't want that too thin, otherwise, you know, it's too uneven. It might not be able to withstand the difference of color to clear ratio. So I'm really trying hard to keep that thing from getting too blown or expanded. And while I'm chilling that area, I'm trying to spin fast so that this area, that center section, begins to kind of open up a little bit. That's enough. Let's take a break.
I'm pretty happy with the way all of these turned out, but what I'm most happy with is how they look together. All the different bands, all the different color combinations coming into one arrangement. Watching.